welcome to today's share class. I'm so excited to be showing you this particular recipe. This is a fun one that we love to make in the summer as well as the fall. Like I told you a couple weeks ago, we love to spend as much time as we can outdoors in the fall here in Colorado. So this is the perfect recipe. We are making grilled pizza today. And it's funny, years ago, I've been making pizza in the oven for years and years, and it just never crossed my mind to use the grill. And I will tell you what, it has turned out to be just an absolute favorite. So that's why I wanted to share it with you. And the pizza dough that you make is super simple. I make mine in a food processor. If you don't have a food processor, don't worry, you can do it all by hand, or you can use a mixer, either one. This just makes easier cleanup, and so I wanted to show you that. And so the first thing I start off with is I always have a big bowl. This is the bowl I use for all my doughs to let them rise. And so we're going to start off just by taking some olive oil, just a teaspoon or two, and I like to just drizzle it all around all the sides. There you go. And just make sure that it's nicely coated. And if you want to take your fingers and spread it around, you can, or you can just spread it around by moving the bowl like this. All right, and so we're just going to set this off to the side. We'll need that in a little bit because that's where we're going to put our dough. Okay, so with pizza dough, as most of you guys know, it's really simple, basic ingredients. You're going to need olive oil, flour, just a touch of sugar, and then some salt. And what I like to do is add some additional flavorings to it, just to give it a little bit more depth. As you guys know, if you watch these share classes, I love to layer flavors. And so that's how we're going to start out. So the first thing we're going to do is grab a glass measuring dish, and you're going to need 1.5 cups of warm water here in just a second. But we'll add in, to start off, it's going to sound like a lot, but don't get scared. It is 4.5 teaspoons of yeast. So we'll put that in there, and then we're going to go and add, like I said, 1.5 cups of warm water to this. All right, so I've added my 1.5 cups of warm water to this, and I'm just going to stir it together. And we're just dissolving the yeast in that warm water. Now let me share a tip with you guys. The only trick to dealing with yeast, active yeast, is you never want to use too hot of water. Think of it like a baby's bottle. You know how you used to see people put it on there inside of the wrist. To the touch, if it's scalding hot, don't use it. It will kill your yeast, and you're not going to get the rise that you want. That's really the only secret to dealing with yeast for the most part. Even cooler water is fine. I always aim for that warmer water, just not, like I said, not too hot. So we'll set that off to our side here, and we're just going to let that dissolve, our yeast. And then we're going to add to our food processor all of the basic ingredients that we need. So we're going to add in our flour, and we're going to be using 3.5 cups of flour. So now I like to store my flour in big containers here, so let's go ahead and add it. So there's 1. There's 2, and for those of you who don't know, I use the dip and sweep method. I dip down in, I don't compress it, and then I just shake it across till it's level. Then we have 3, and then we need 1/2 cup. There we go. Next thing you're going to want to add in is a tablespoon of sugar, and I'll just sprinkle that in. And then the fun part, I like to, like I said, like to flavor it. I like to make it herb pizza dough. And so I add in a couple of teaspoons of garlic powder. And I love to also add in onion powder. So I have, let me take off this lid here. Whoops. Let me see. To use a knife here to get this off my thumbnail. There we go. So I'm just taking off the shaker lid here. And again, I'm just going to use that same measurement of 2 teaspoons of onion powder. Oh, I love it. I particularly like, you guys know I like to share the brands that I use. I love Penzeys. I don't think you can get better spices than Penzeys. They just have such great flavor. And then I also like to use a ton of herb seasoning. So we're talking a tablespoon. And this particular Italian herb mix from Penzeys as well, it has a combination of oregano, it has thyme in there, it has some basil, it's all crushed up, and it just adds great flavor. So a tablespoon, and you guys know I like to use my palm for a tablespoon. All right, so we have that, and we also want to add in some salt. And our magic number here is 2 teaspoons of kosher salt. Okay, so we have all of our ingredients added here. So we're just going to put on our lid. And then you just want to pulse it a couple of times, combine it. So this way we know it's all combined. All right. So to our yeast mixture, we want to add in an additional amount of olive oil to these wet ingredients here. So we are going to be adding in 2 tablespoons of olive oil. There we go, 1 and 2. And that's all there is to it. Super, super easy. Take my spoon again and just stir that yeast and olive oil and warm water around. Okay, so now I'm gonna put my food processor on low, and I'm gonna drizzle the water in through the top. And we're just gonna watch. What's going to happen is it will slowly combine and it will start to pull away from the edges, and that's how we know when to stop it. So we'll just start it up here. Oops. Turn that back on. And you'll see as you add the water, you'll hear it. And it will look a little wet, and again, wet is never bad with dough. It just means you need a little bit more flour. And so I'm just going to add in just a wee bit more here. And I'm going to put it on, pulse it just a few more times here. I don't want to overwork the dough in the food processor at all, so I tend to err on just a couple of pulses to pull it together. It's pulled away from the sides nicely. And all we're going to do now is set this off to the side. then just be careful because that fitted sharp blade is in here. So I like to remove that first. So just be super careful. I'm gonna use our hands here. And if you don't feel comfortable using your hands to remove the dough, certainly use a spatula to get the dough off. And then that way you don't have to worry about cutting yourself. So just, you know, be aware of that when you're working with this. And it just takes a second to get all that off of there. Okay. There we go. We have most of it, so I'll set this off to the side. Okay, so I got out my plastic wrap. Before we remove this dough, I'm just gonna set out a sheet of plastic wrap on my counter. You guys know I love this tip. It just helps with cleanup. You don't have flour everywhere. So I'm just gonna set this down. There we go. Smooth it out, and then I'm going to grab a little bit more flour, and I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of flour down here on my plastic wrap, and then I always like to get a handful, get my hands floured up a bit, and then basically use my hand as a scoop to get this dough out of here. And with all those herbs in the dough, it smells so good. There we go. All right, I try to scrape out every last bit that I can. I think we have most of it out of there. And then I'm just gonna grab a little bit more flour and sprinkle it over the top. And then a little bit on my hands. And then we're not really going to need this dough much. You'll be able to tell by the texture it's super soft. So you just need barely any flour. And so we are just putting enough on there to not make it super sticky. So we're just kneading it a couple of times here, a little bit more on my palm. And I'm just folding it over and pressing in the middle and then rotating it a quarter of a turn. There we go. And that's it. And so it's nice and smooth. And so I just form it into a ball, and we have that prepared bowl already out. So what I like to do is drop it in the bottom. I'll show you guys. Well, let me first show you this. Put it in the bottom there. I'm gonna take the corners of my plastic wrap and just fold them right into the middle. And look, no flour anywhere, so this trick is super, super helpful. So I placed my dough in the bottom of that oiled bowl, and I dropped it down. I like to give it a spin to coat the bottom, and then I like to turn it over, spin it again, and we're just coating the dough with olive oil. And then just turn it back over. And I'm gonna wash up my hands, and I'll show you the last thing we need to do. Okay, so my hands are all clean. I'm gonna reach back for this plastic wrap. So we're covering the top of the bowl with plastic wrap. And we're gonna set this off to the side to let it rise for about an hour usually. It will more than double in size typically, and it's just relaxing all the gluten that's in there. I like to typically put this in the warmest room in the house, which is typically whatever is south facing. So that's the front of my house. So I'm going to go put this bowl in there and let this rise. Okay, so while that dough is rising, what I like to do is prep all the toppings that we're gonna need. And so I'm starting off with I have this wooden dish that has dividers in it. It just makes it easy to kind of spread everything out and see what you have for toppings. And so what I'll start with is a few of the meats that I have. We were making sausage the other day, and so I asked my husband to brown up some extra. So he did that for me. So I'm just going to put this into this section. And you can just put these all in little bowls. You don't have to do it like this if you don't want to. Just makes it nice. Nice presentation. It's always fun. Okay, so that's our sausage. And you can use any of your favorite pizza toppings. It's completely up to you what you want to use. And so I have some pepperoni here. My kids like pepperoni. So we'll put that out. And we'll just go ahead and put both rows of the pepperoni out here. Both rows here. So everyone can choose from that. And then the next thing I have is a little bit special. I'm going to be sharing with you what I do with this. This is prosciutto. It's Italian cured ham. And so I'm just going to pull out all of this here. They come in, if you've never used prosciutto before, it's a really super, super thin ham. It's about this thin. It's thinner than paper, actually. It is delicious on pizza, and I'm going to share with you how I like to serve that. So we have our prosciutto in here all set to go. So I wanted to, the last couple of weeks, we've kind of built up and used, we talked about salads a couple weeks ago and using your own homegrown fresh baby greens for a salad. And then I showed you the following week how to use that same salad with a grilled salmon. You grill your salmon, put that on top of the salad, that arugula salad. And so this third week, there's another use for that arugula salad that we put together with the lemon Parmesan dressing, delicious, by the way, is take some arugula and prepare that salad up, drizzle it with the lemon Parmesan dressing, and dress your pizza with it. And then put on some prosciutto onto it, drizzle it with olive oil, and put it on your grill. And you will fall in love with it. It's so delicious. I know it sounds a little crazy to put salad on pizza, but I know you guys are gonna love it if you give it a shot. So I'll go get another tray and we'll add a little bit of salad to that tray so we have it. So I went and grabbed just another one of these divider trays, and I went ahead and put some of my arugula baby greens in here. And like I had shared with you in that last class, I don't like to dress it too far in advance with the dressing. I want to wait until we're just about ready to use it. That way they don't get all wilty or anything. So I've just added the baby greens to this, and we will move forward. I have a package of shredded mozzarella over here. So we'll put that here. My kids tend to like the shredded mozzarella. I like the fresh, but I put out both. So we'll put that there. And it just makes it fun to have it all out. And then everyone gets to decide what their favorite is. And so I have some fresh mozzarella here. And I want to share a tip with you guys about using cherry tomatoes. My favorite kind of tomatoes to use on a pizza are cherry tomatoes. I think they have much better flavor than the bigger tomatoes. But let me show you a trick to this. I want you to grab a couple of paper towels. And so when you're making pizza, think about your ingredients that might have extra moisture in them that can make your pizza crust soggy, and tomatoes are one of those things. And so what we want to do is make sure that we get out all the moisture from our tomatoes. So let me grab just a few right now just to show you. And then grab yourself a knife. And so all I want you to do is slice them in half. Just like this. Slice them in half. And I need a bunch more, obviously. Here, I'll go ahead and do a couple of more, because we go through a lot of tomatoes on our pizza. There we go. So now all I want you to do is lay them out onto a paper towel like this, all nicely half like that, and then grab a couple more paper towels. And then what you're going to do is fold it and put it over the top. Now this is fun. Kids like to do this in my house. All you do is press down. And it's really satisfying to press down because you'll actually feel that all the juice and everything and seeds pop. And so it's kind of like the bubble wrap that you get from the post office, how satisfying it can be just to sit there and pop them. So all we're doing is pressing out all the liquid from these tomatoes. And why I am even showing you this is because just make sure they're really flat. And once you remove the paper towel, what you're gonna find are all the seeds are on there too. And it's just the best trick. And now you can use these and sprinkle them on your pizza and not have to worry about your pizza getting soggy at all. Mushrooms are another thing. If you rinse them, they retain all that moisture and water. So I tend to just brush off any dirt that's on a mushroom. So we will just add that. Actually, I'll put these with our larger tomatoes. I'll just set them off to the side here. But then they just look like little coins. And it just pairs so nicely with basil. You guys know I love having a basil plant from the store. So you just pick off a big bunch of basil, and we're gonna add that here. And that way everyone can add some fresh herbs. If you have oregano or thyme, you can add that in too. Have that be a topping. So you can see just how pretty these look. And it just makes it super fun to lay it out this way, and everyone can decide. Now we have to talk about some more toppings, and we need to talk about our base. So traditionally, most people use a tomato base. And what we do in our house is we just grab our favorite jar of spaghetti sauce, pour out a little bowl of that, and we use about a tablespoon on each pizza. You don't want to put more. Again, that has some liquid in there and it can make your crust a little soggy. So less is more when it comes to tomato sauce. But I thought I'd show you today a special sauce that's delicious to put on your pizza. So we start off with some whole milk ricotta, and we are just gonna add, let's see, here's our spoon. We're gonna add, I would say, 1/2 cup of ricotta to a bowl. There we go, so we have our 1/2 cup. And then what you're gonna need is some fresh garlic. I'm just gonna grab a cutting board here, and we're gonna take a couple of cloves of garlic. And you know I had used garlic powder before in the dough, but I think for this ricotta, we want to use fresh. So I shared with you guys before, I tend to think that one garlic clove is never enough, and so my magic number is 3. So I have 3 garlic cloves here. So I'm just gonna smash those up real quick and pull off the outer layer. There we go. Okay, so there's one. I'll do the second one. Oops. Sometimes you have to use some muscle on these things. There we go. And it just peels right off. And our third one. There we go. Okay. So I'm just gonna get any extra layer, that outer layer off to the, push it off to the side here. And then, let's see, I grab my chef's knife, and then we're just gonna mince this up real quick. And you wanna make this fairly fine as you're mincing it up. And we absolutely love this. We call it a garlic crema for our pizza. So if you think about a white pizza, it's a great base layer to add to the top of your pizza. And then you can add any other ingredients that you want. All right. So we just want to mince that nice and fine, and then just gather it up and toss it into your bowl of ricotta. There we go. Okay. And then the next thing you're going to need is some salt. So we'll grab some salt, and need about a teaspoon of salt. So add that in. And then just take that spoon and stir it all together. And you just want to let this rest. And the longer it rests, the more flavor that gets infused into that ricotta. And it's super nice and smooth. And it really is delicious. You can give it a shot. Try it. Love that. So, so good. All right, so we have that all set. And then the only other thing that we need to do is to take some spaghetti sauce and add that to a bowl. So we'll do that here. So like I said, just grab your favorite jar of spaghetti sauce. You don't need extra special sauce for this. There we go. And just add it to a bowl and grab a spoon. So we'll be back as soon as our dough is finished rising, and we'll roll out all that pizza dough. I'm gonna have a helper today helping with that, and then we'll go make up our pizzas. Now another trick I wanted to show you is it's really fun to make all the pizza dough up in advance, and that means rolling all the little mini pizzas out. I don't typically, instead of making one large pizza to grill, we love to make mini grilled pizzas. And so they're all super little. I like to get the kids involved. I had my nieces and nephews here not too long ago, and here in this next clip I'll show you them working on the dough and rolling out the dough. So get your kids involved to help. They love doing this. But one thing I'd like to do is take some parchment paper and just cut it into thirds. And so they don't have to be exact. so don't worry. But cut it into thirds. And then stack them all on top of each other like this. And then cut them in half so you get squares, little parchment squares. And all you're going to use this for is in between each mini pizza that you roll out, you're just going to layer each of the dough with the parchment paper, so that way it's not sticking on together. So you'll see as my nephew is rolling them out how he's using this after he rolls each one. And it's so fun because, like, I remind him that, you know, when you use when you're rolling out pizza dough, it does not have to be perfect. If you're throwing it on the grill, the fun part, especially involving your kids, is they can make it any way, shape, or size, and it doesn't matter because it all tastes the same in the end. So I just wanted to share that quick tip before I turn this over to my niece and nephew and let them show you how kids can help in the kitchen with rolling this out. Okay, so we are back with our pizza dough. It's almost doubled in size, and you want to get out a rolling pin, and then also you are going to want to get some more plastic wrap and lay out if you want to use that trick on your counters. Like I said, I love to do this, that way it just saves the mess. And if you're working with kids in the kitchen, then you don't have to be uptight about, you know, them getting flour everywhere, because we can easily clean it up. So I just laid 2 sheets of plastic wrap down. Just like that. And we have our squares of parchment paper. There we go. And you can do this a couple of different ways. You can lay out just a wee bit of flour. You're not going to need much. So I'll get a little cupful here. And what I do is when I'm working with dough, I do like to put some flour on my hands. And so I'm just going to lift this up. Oh, you can just tell. It's soft, it's pillowy, and that's how you know it's going to have just great texture. So you'll just want to sprinkle a little bit of flour down. Now you can set your dough down and shape it into a rectangle, and then you can grab a knife and you can evenly divide this up. So I just press down like this, and I'm making about inch cuts, and I'm not even having to worry about going all the way through. And then you'll just go the other way, and we're making inch squares. And that's how we know how we can get, for the most part, most of our pizza dough even. You'll have some on the end that are super tiny, but you just pull them off, and you can just quickly roll them into balls and set them off to the side. That is a tip on doing this if you want to try to make them all even, say you're having friends over. And if not, just have people grab dough and shape it into the size that they want. But like I said, we like to do all this stuff in advance so no one has to worry about rolling it out. And so you just pull it apart and you can set it off. And if one looks bigger than the other, that's okay too. Just means it might have to cook a wee bit longer. And if it gets a little sticky on your hands, just put a little flour there. Again, not much, because we're not trying to dry out our pizza dough or anything. And we work pretty quickly on this because in Colorado things tend to dry out quickly, and we don't want our dough to dry up. So here in a little bit, when we're finished rolling everything out, we will cover it with plastic wrap until we're ready to use it. So set those off to the side so we have a bunch here. And this is a tip that you can do. And when I show you my niece and nephew working, I just let him work with the whole piece of dough and let him decide how he wanted to do it. But I thought I would show you guys this tip so you know. All right, that one. So this one will divide up. And let's just do some counting here so that way you guys know how much this dough made up for mini pizzas. So right now, 16. So right now we have 20, so we have 25. So 25 mini pizzas, that's perfect. I mean, we're talking itty bitty, you can eat a couple at a time. And don't have to feel guilty because these really are pretty small. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of extra dough and pat that down and then grab your rolling pin. And if it is sticky, just put a little bit dough and you can even wipe it off afterwards. Because we do not want floury pizza dough. So less is more on this. And you'll see my nephew, how good he is about using such a little amount of flour. So he has done this quite a bit. So that was super fun to see. They came out to visit from Minnesota and just loved having them here. And you know, like I told you, and we'll share a couple more times, but I just want to remind you, you don't have to make a circle. You can just roll this out and it can be as thin as you want. I tend to like mine thin, or if you want it thicker, you can make it thicker. So you just grab one of those sheets of parchment paper, set it down and put your pizza dough right on top, like that. And then grab another one and place it on top. And so I'll just show you here how to make a circular one, so you know. So you just shape it into a ball, put down a teeny tiny bit of flour, and then push to the outside, and you may even have to put a little bit on your rolling pin. And then you just start in the center and press out. And if it sticks, just add a wee bit more flour. You can shake it off too. There you go. And then we just do quarter turns like this. And you can even use your hands to shape it into your circle. If you don't have a rolling pin, I know a lot of people who do not have one, you can hold the dough up like this and turn it, and you'll just feel, it feels nice and light. And so you get your whole circle here of your pizza dough. And so you just can go and lay it down right on top of your other one on that parchment paper. You can spread it out. There you go. And this is like one little mini slice of pizza. And I like to do it this way because then you can have all the flavor combinations that you want. Like one with the arugula salad on it, another one with sausage, and maybe some red pepper flakes, and then another one with tomatoes and basil and fresh mozzarella. And I hear my cats in the distance. Do you hear them? Isn't it funny that they have to find their way into these every single time? So I'm just going to finish rolling these out and I'll pass it on over so you guys can see my niece and nephew working in the kitchen. All right, we have Miss Palmer here making pizza dough, and she is kneading the dough. Yep, pushing down with her palms. Yep, good. Excellent job. It's so fun to have kids help in the kitchen. We are making pizza dough. She's doing fantastic. And we put our plastic down so that way we just have to roll up our saran wrap when we're done, and it makes for an easy cleanup. Now we have Paxton helping making pizza dough. We're grilling pizza tonight. We've got all of our toppings out here. fresh mozzarella, some pepperoni and basil, and some fresh tomatoes from the garden, and some grape tomatoes. And then we have some garlic crema and a bunch of herbs from the garden. So I've got 2 great helpers today. So super fun. And what's great about individual grilling pizza is you can make it any shape you want. So my helpers are doing a fantastic job here.
And the stocking.
Nice work, Pax. What's your favorite kind of pizza?
Or meats or Canadian bacon.
Meat and Canadian bacon, nice. So it's so fun to have you guys helping. And the dough's super soft. That's how you know it's gonna taste good too. Just by the texture, you can feel it as you touch it. And Pax knows, like, if it's a little sticky, you can add some flour to it, which he already did. He knows the drill.
Ah! No! Nutty pepper!
Paper fall. Nice. So when you're done, so we're back, all the dough is finished. Like I said, we have about 25 little mini pizzas here. Grab some plastic wrap and get those covered up so they don't dry out. Just gonna grab a plate and put these. I think it'll make it a little bit easier to transport everything. This up. And you can always reshape these later after they've relaxed. And so just be sure and cover them up until you're ready to put them on the grill. So we are gonna head outside. I'm gonna get my grill heated to the highest temperature possible. So depending on your grill, you might have to wait 20 minutes to get it up to a high temperature. So I'm aiming for 500 to 600 degrees. So we want it super hot. That is the true secret to making grilled pizza. And what I love most about it is that, like I said, it's not soggy, it's crisp, and it's got such a great texture on it. So join us outside in just a second, and I'll show you how we put these together. We'll finish up here. Okay, so we are back outside, ready to grill up our pizza dough. So I'm just gonna remove the plastic. And it already started to puff up just in those few minutes that we were waiting. And I thought I would just, instead of bringing out all those ingredients, it's a little chilly today, and I thought I would just bring out a couple of ingredients for a caprese style grilled pizza and show you that. All right, so we're up to 500. So what you're going to want to need, what you're going to want to get is some olive oil. And I always drizzle at the top piece of the dough, and then that's what you're going to flip down onto the grill. And then just remove your sheet of parchment paper and do the exact same thing. Is drizzle some over, and this will prevent it from sticking to the grill. I think I'll make up just I'll do 3 pizza. Drizzle that olive oil over it. Put it down. Right now we're just going to close the lid, and because our grill is so hot, it's only going to take 2, maybe 3 minutes per side, and that's it. It goes that fast. And so go ahead and get all your toppings ready. I have my garlic crema all set to go. And then I've got some fresh basil and some fresh mozzarella and those tomatoes that we squeezed out all the juices on. So you can open your lid and take a peek and see. You'll be able to feel if it's ready to turn. It will stiffen up here, and this is nice and golden, as you guys can see right there. We'll flip it over. Oh, it looks so good, and it puffs up. It's just so pretty. All right, and then you can take your garlic crema basil across the top. Spread that nice and evenly. And then we'll just add our other ingredients. So I'm going to put my basil onto the bottom of these pizzas. And then you can spread out your mozzarella and your tomatoes. And I usually use 2 to 3 of these little mozzarella balls per pizza. Alright. There we go. And then you just want to close your lid and cook them on the other side. Now let me share a secret with you. If you don't want to stand here and have everyone coming up to your grill to do this, to put their own toppings on, what I often do is I grill both sides of the pizza and then bring a big stack of all the grilled pizza dough over to the table, let everyone pile on their toppings, and then bring it back over, set them out onto the grill, close your lid for just a couple of minutes until all that cheese is nice and melted and ooey gooey, and then you're all done. So you can do it either way. I just thought I would show you both methods. Either way works though. So I'll show you here, and you can just pick it up, the dough, and look for that golden mark on there, and we are really close, maybe just a minute or 2 away. So I'm just going to set this off on our table here. And if you have any remaining pizza dough just sitting out, you can always use that plastic wrap and cover it right back up. So we will cover it up so it doesn't dry out. And then set that off to the side, and I have a cutting board out here. And you can take, so good, and just watch that cheese when it gets nice and melted. Perfect. You guys can see that beautiful pizza right there, and I'm just going to let it go just a couple of minutes more. You can drizzle olive oil on it and sprinkle on some more salt. I know you guys are going to have so much fun, so get outside. It's October in Colorado. Grab your jackets if you have to, and have some fun getting out here and using up these final few weeks of these beautiful fall days and crisp and cool fall days. And just have some fun with this grilled pizza. And then you can just move it over to your cutting board super easily, and then you can cut it right on here. You can either get a pizza cutter. I didn't bring mine out today. And so we have our slice of pizza here. The fresh basil, the crema is all melted on here. Absolutely delicious. I know if you try that garlic crema, you'll love it. And like I said, you get to pick and choose whatever toppings that your family loves. So thanks for joining today, and be sure and share Life Living Food with all your friends and family, and just continue to share with one another. I think we need it now more than ever, and it's what we do for each other. It's just one of the best things that we can do to build up a community. Thanks so much, and we'll see you again next week.